Hello YouTube, this is ChardarYGO with a YGO Omega Daily Duel video playing some Adventurer Exosister. This deck was sent to me by my friend Sean. He got first place at Locals with it today, and we're going to try it out. No adventures in hand, so we're just going to set our Imperm, set call by, summon Sophia, leave Ghost Ogre in hand, and then we have quite a bit of disruption, so this hand isn't the worst. Definitely not the best this deck can do. Opponent draws. Opponent looks like they're playing 50 cards, which suggests they will be using the graveyard, which Exosisters are really good against. Opponent taking their time, probably reading Sophia. 30 seconds, though. They're not... These aren't that obscure. They're kind of obscure. Oh, opponent's playing Prank Kids. That's not great for us. Normal summons Dropsies. Link summons into Meow Meow. Well, we will called by target Dropsies. Opponent has Magician Souls, dumps Illusion of Chaos. Oh, this is the Pedmas deck. Dumps Illusion of Chaos, summons Souls. We still have Impermanent Ogre. See if they discard Eldritch cards. Activates Souls, just discards Draco back. I think we can let our opponent draw one card. I would like to Imperm here, but I feel like we have to save it for something more impactful. Opponent is also showing no signs of taking cards out of their grave yet. Alright, they're about to go to battle. So if you're ever playing against Exosisters, if you just go to battle and attack over the Exosister, you can... They're all tiny. That's usually the best strategy against this deck. Opponent goes to main phase 2. We gonna Link summons into Anaconda. Pays 2,000. I'm assuming dumps Fusion Destiny. Dumps Fusion Destiny. Well, we will absolutely Imperm that. And then we are essentially out of resources. I guess we can top deck top deck Enchantress, activate the Enchantress. So our opponent ashes, and we are back to being in trouble past the turn. If opponent's playing... These decks are all playing 2 Fusion Destiny, so we couldn't even out the Anaconda, so our opponent is going to be able to reactivate that if they want to, which is very depressing that we can't out a 500 attack monster. Opponent activates Pandemonium. We are almost certainly dead. I feel like there's not much reason to keep playing this out. Opponent had a hand full of Prank Kids. Summons Rocket Ride, Fansies, and Lampsies trigger. We get burnt. So right now, opponent has 25 damage on board. DPE is another 25, so it's 5,000. So our opponent needs 1,600 more damage. Assuming this Ghost Ogre doesn't end up mattering, but it's not looking great. Dumps place because it probably doesn't matter. Summons Roxy's. So all our opponent needs to do is Link summon into Doodle-Doo. Alright, then that is game. Our opponent activates Anaconda, summons DPE, and we lose. GG opponent. Our hand wasn't great, to be fair. Going second, I don't think we change anything. Going first, I don't think we change anything. None of these hand traps are great. Lancia's just okay. Actually, we might bring in Drawl. Drawl seems much better than Imperm or Valor against Prank Kids. We're going to leave in one Valor for Halceline and run it like that. Opponent still siding. There are 4 chained modes. Seriously, this is like a top tier feature. Like all these like little tips and tricks. I love that Omega does this. Very, very cool addition. Because Omega is like a really neat program with a lot of weird shortcuts that aren't immediately obvious. And I think these tips communicate them pretty well. Early on when I started making videos on Omega, one of the developers was messaging me a lot. This hand is pretty good. We're going to activate right, summon the token, activate Fateful Adventure. It's still called Journey of Destiny here. Activate Fateful Adventure, search up the Griffin, pitch, I guess the Enchantress. Special summon the Griffin. Activate Fateful Adventure. Equip Draco back. I guess we might as well activate this to thin the deck. Get another right out of the deck. We just added that back from the grave. Not what we meant to do, but doesn't really matter. We don't have any Exosisters, so we're going to pass. We have Drawl, Ogre, Griffin. We need to hope that's enough. Opponent draws. Activates place. We let place go, I think. Searches Dropsies. We will draw. So our opponent have called by. Opponent has Gamma. Well, we don't want that going off, so we're going to try to negate Gamma. We negate Gamma. Opponent's still under draw, but that does get rid of our Griffin. And because of place, they can chain block Dropsies. That shouldn't end up mattering, though, because the only thing we have is Ogre, which doesn't interact with Prank Kids very well anyway. Opponent really thinking on if they want to normal summon. Alright, opponent finally figures out that you should normal summon the Prank Kid that you search for. Link summon Meowmoo. Effective Dropsies. Effective place. We can Ogre place, but we're not going to. Token gets shrunk. Opponent grabs Fansies. Link summon Doodle-Doo. Can't search with Doodle-Doo, though. I can use Fansies. If I'm remembering right, I don't think you can Roxy's under draw either, which could come up. Dumps Pandemonium. The other problem to keep in mind, opponent gets Lampsies, is even if our opponent can't do anything to us this turn, we don't really have a lot going on. Like, even if we draw an Exosister, our opponent's not really sending stuff out of the grave, and Exosisters aren't that great against decks that don't use the graveyard. Still, our stuff is still... Opponent's stuff is still too small to get over the token. Opponent thinking again, are they going to link summon? Opponent thinking very hard. If our opponent just can't deal with this token, that's going to be hilarious. Opponent has a minute left. If our opponent times out, we will take a win. Opponent just summons Anaconda. Okay, pays 2,000, dumps Fusion Destiny. I'm not sure how we deal with Phoenix Enforcer. Like, as far as I know, this deck just has literally no outs. Alright, opponent back under a minute, but things are looking much worse for us. Opponent goes to battle. There's something they're not reading. Declares attack, sure. Then activates Phoenix Enforcer. So we go, let's not Ghost Ogre Phoenix Enforcer. Blows up Anaconda, and the token gets a replay attack. So we take 25. Main phase 2, end phase. We draw a right, which if we had correctly used Enchantress would not be in our deck. That's worth noting. Activate Fateful Adventure. I'm not sure about this list only playing one Fateful Adventure. Like, we would very much like to be able to activate right. Opponent chains Destroyer. Destroys. Destroys both the field spells. We will activate right. Summon a token. Normal the Ghost Ogre. Summon Needle Fiber, activate effect of Needle Fiber, grab Valor. So we can Selene, but Selene doesn't actually, access code doesn't win the game here. Our opponent's at 7,000 and destroying Phoenix Enforcer is not especially good. I think we actually go Unicorn here. Link into Unicorn, effective Unicorn, pitch, right, target Phoenix Enforcer, bounce back the extra, go to battle. Alright, we have a Nightmare Unicorn against our opponent's going to be 5-card hand. We have hope. This is a winnable game. Opponent activates Dasher, gets a Lampsies on the board without even special normal summoning, activates Illusion of Chaos, searches souls, puts probably Illusion back. Alright, this is we are in great shape. We can still win this game. Opponent activates souls, dumps Illusion of Chaos, special souls, normals a second Lampsies. Okay, that's, if our opponent is going to have another Prank Kids, another copy of Lampsies is pretty okay. Summons Doodle Doo activates Lampsies on 1, Doodle on 2. That's interesting. Opponent cares more about Lampsies than they do Doodle. Like, no, absolutely none of it matters, but still notable. Also notable that if we can get to access code, I don't think we survive this turn. We're at 55. Burns for 5, searches place, summons Fansies, activates place, searches Dropsies. This can shrink the Nightmare Unicorn so it can't be, so it can be attacked over. Opponent, thinking through options again, activates the Doodle. Grabs back. I didn't see what the grab back. Checking log, grabbed back Pandemonium, and Lampsies activates Pandemonium. Fusion summon, Battle Butler, still has Meow Meow engraved, so gets to blow up our stuff. Dropsies and Fansies both trigger. Place triggers, shrinks the unicorn. Yeah, no, grows. Okay. Link summoning shrinks, fusion summoning grows, but it doesn't really matter. Dumps another place with Fansies, summons Roxy's, goes back up to 1,000, so access code is no longer game. Summons another Fansies. At this point, it's really just waiting to see how our opponent wants to kill us rather than does our opponent kill us or not. And then even if they don't kill us, we can't deal with the butler. We burnt so many resources getting rid of DPE. Opponent is taking a long time to think through their plays, which makes sense. This deck, to my knowledge, just became popular like 2 or 3 days ago, and there's a lot of moving pieces to keep track of with this deck. Opponent has not used souls yet. Okay, opponent's going to use souls. I was about to say they can get rid of the place. Sends. Why would you bring in Feather Duster against this deck? Okay. Draws a couple more cards because that's definitely what our opponent needed. Opponent literally could just make any Link 3 and then an access code, and then access code attacks us for game. Just goes to okay, so we survived this turn technically, but our Gigabyte is not beating a Battle Butler. Opponent attacks over our unicorn. We take 13. Passes. We draw Griff. Okay, yeah, this game is super over. Our hands weren't great, but GG, opponent.